Okay, hello again. I'll talk a bit about Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. I think I'll see where it goes. Um, so I do believe there's probably some systemic racism in America and in many Western countries, in like the police force and stuff. I am now aware and more learned about white privilege, and generally I sweep that under the rug. And I imagine, like Elliot, you might look at that and go, "White privilege, it's just bullshit." Because that's how I kind of used to be, to some extent. I just used to sweep it under the rug as if it was just irrelevant. There's a friend a mate at the hostel he's a Pakistani lad, and he doesn't take himself seriously. I've good conversations with him. It's enjoyable. I mean, he doesn't take himself seriously. He takes a piss at me sometimes for having a ginger moustache, and like I've called him like Santa nigger, and just called him like inferior because he's brown and subhuman and stuff like that, just as jokes, and we laugh about it. So it's good. That might, to anybody liberal, I'm sorry for offending you if that has offended you. It might offend you just because I assumed it'd offend you because you're liberal. That might have offended you. A bit meta there. But yeah, its sense of humour is just disgusting and dry, and whatever you want to call it, if that's dry. You know, don't take ourselves seriously, which I like. That's pretty much number one if you want to, in terms of criteria for a potential friend. Anyway, he was saying about we're talking about white privilege and Black Lives Matter, and yeah, I do believe there is such a thing as white privilege in just terms of how I don't have to have any anxiety about how people may perceive me in pretty much anywhere I go, because generally white people are seen as just the same if you're just going around general Western countries, or if you're going to places in Asia, you might be pedestalised. You might be alienated a bit, but you're not really looked down on generally. So that's my interpretation of white privilege, and to the extent I believe it exists. And there are probably other areas, but yeah, I do agree with it in terms of it existing. Black Lives Matter, I don't really see a point in putting on social media a picture of a black square, or reposting quotes from black people or white people, or the example we talked about was like, well, if everyone did that on social media, would there be a marginal increase in how marginal improvement in how black people are treated? Potentially there could be, because you're spreading awareness that Black Lives Matter, but then again, people who see it, they might look at it with contempt, like, oh, another one of these posts. Or I think probably more of them will be like, okay, wait, this is a problem, and they might be more aware and learned about it. So there might be a net gain in terms of awareness and in terms of that. But I don't know there is a net gain, and I think it just seems like virtue signalling. It does seem like they're subconsciously doing it to show that they're in agreement with what the herd is doing, just so they're in line with the status quo. It's like if a company talks about Black Lives Matter, it's just like they're trying to show their company is, morally superior or in line with the status quo. And it's like, well, what have they actually done for Black Lives Matter charities or organisations or whatever? It just seems like a lot of virtue signalling. And I don't agree with it. When I do see like the Melbourne protests for Black Lives Matter, like, what is it actually achieving? I'd love to see what these protests actually achieve. If I was told, like, that's the question I asked, and my mate said, in America the protests have had an effect. Minneapolis has disbanded its police force or whatever. Yeah, people are listening. In cases like that, fine. If they're peaceful protests, yeah, fine. But in terms of people saying like, don't let racists attack you, attack the racists, and it's just, you know, anarchical backlash. That just seems a bit naive, a bit immature, a bit uninformed, ignorant, unnecessary. So that's pretty much that. Do I think there is a problem with racism? Yes. Do I think Black Lives Matter? Yes. No, I shouldn't even have to fucking answer that stupid question. Do I think there's a problem in America? Yes, simply because of the videos of George Floyd in itself. Maybe he was a bit of a prick. Maybe, I said. But did that warrant his being killed in broad daylight, murdered in the street? Nah, come on. By the people who are supposed to protect civilians? Nah, that doesn't warrant anything like that. Do I think protests are worthwhile? It depends. Potentially. Generally, I'd probably say yes, given they're peaceful and they have an explicit intention. Another point my mate made was that we shouldn't have to, the protesters shouldn't have to voice exactly their demands, because if they're just saying end, my point was that all they're saying is end police brutality, and like, what the fuck does that mean? What are their intentions? What are their exact demands? And my mate said, well, they shouldn't have to make exact demands because, like, the fucking government are in charge of the police and creating all the laws and the training videos and everything. So it's not like we should know exactly how they should correct what they're doing. They should fucking know, and it's their job to reform. And I do generally agree. Yeah, I'd have to think about it more, but from that logic, I agree with. That makes sense to me. So yeah, generally I agree with that. Anything else in terms of Black Lives Matter? No, not really. More stuff might come to mind, but in terms of putting shit on social media, generally pointless. Attending protests, okay, yes, only if you believe that you're having an impact, or if it's something that's really that valuable to you, and that it should be a priority. But if you're just going there because it seems the right thing to do, it feels like the right thing to do, you should really question your intention a bit more, I believe. Anything else in terms of worldly things? I've started jacking off more. Talk about fucking digression, which is not good. Porn. Last night I think I was in bed for an hour and a half, unable to sleep, like wide awake, thinking about just past experiences, sexual, hence wanking, and yeah, it's because I had sugar late at night. I had like quite a bit of apple crumble, which was good, apple crumbles and apple pie, a bit of chocolate. I didn't massively overeat, honestly. I didn't eat much before. Anyway, yeah, it just kept me up. Sugar had a proper effect on me. So yeah, and I was just so fucking frisky that I just went to bust a nut, mostly just fucking so I could quickly get to sleep, and I did get to sleep thereafter pretty quickly. But yeah, it's causing me to sexualise women more, and sex is more on my mind, I guess. Not a lot throughout the day, but it's more on my mind than I like it to be, especially at night. I'm still getting up relatively late. This morning was earlier than usual at 9:30. I'd like to slowly keep winding back my time, but as I say, mostly I'm focused on my eating. I'm not putting much pressure on myself in terms of much else. I'm working at least 3 hours a day, pretty much every day, and making progress there. I think that's about it. Still not feeling any signs of loneliness or anything. Financial situation is fucked, but my dad said he'll give me a financial blanket if I need it, which may be, because I can't imagine myself making money within 2 months if I do. I mean, I've realised recently I've been less than a month and a half doing HTML and front end stuff, and I've made a lot of progress. I think I'd say I've done 1 1/3 courses, a load of exercises, some projects, websites and stuff. Made my own website from scratch, or not made all of it, but yeah, I'm making progress. So within another month I think I could do quite a lot as well. I don't feel like I'm making much progress each day, but I don't zoom out enough. And like I was talking yesterday with Nico, and he was saying like he often feels like I feel. We just feel like you're not getting anywhere, that you're not doing enough, etc. He doesn't usually struggle with that at all. It seems that he's struggling more with it now than I am. Self-expectation. Well, actually, no. He said he felt a bit like that. I don't think he struggles with it much at all, but he had a pang of that. And yeah, I just said, you know, it's easier to be an armchair therapist, an armchair psychologist. Yeah, I just believe that if I keep handling things like I do and keep moving forward and trying new things, and you know, it's inevitable that I'm going to be great, and I believe that I will be great. I believe that I will be somebody whom I'm completely proud of. And yeah, I don't really, when people say like, oh yeah, you do hard stuff, I don't really see stuff I do as like risk taking. It's weird. If someone says, oh Luke, you take big risks, I never see it that way. If you say, oh yeah, you do big, I'm a big risk taker. I never see like that. Like you might say, you just went to the other side of the world in a hostel. You didn't have any jobs, you didn't have any friends, you know, you didn't have much money, and then COVID came. Man, that's a huge risk. You stayed over there even when COVID came without coming home and living rent free. That's a huge risk. I'm just like, no, that's just what I wanted to do. You know, for me, it'd be a bigger risk to go get a 9 to 5 at a fucking some desk job. Why'd that be a bigger risk? Because I'm risking my fucking mental health. Seriously. You know, you took a big risk when you cycled 4,500 kilometers over Europe. No, I fucking loved it. I didn't feel like it was a massive risk. It was challenging, but I wanted to do it. It's just something I wanted to prove to myself. Maybe it entailed risk, but I did it because I didn't know what else I wanted to do at all. I had no fucking idea what I wanted to do, and it just sounded like it'd be a good idea because I wanted to get fitter and get some solitude and do some self-learning and read a lot, and perfect for that. Yeah. Am I humble? I don't think I'm humble. I'm proud of things I believe I should be proud of. Maybe I could be proud of more things, because maybe my self-expectation eats away at me quite a bit. But yeah, and then we can talk about, can I talk about more stuff? How long has this been going? Okay, that's long.